Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 5 of the Beat Your Cravings Challenge. I'm really excited that you've made it this far, and whether or not you have stuck with me for the 5 days, or maybe you're just jumping in, or maybe you're catching up, or maybe you're doing this challenge again on your own, I am just so excited that you're taking the time to watch this video and all of the other videos, especially for those of you who can make it live. I think it's really valuable just to be able to ask your questions and get that feedback. And it also is a little bit motivating to continue making the changes whenever you're more confident in what you're doing. And the way to build that confidence is by getting answers and actually working through the changes that you're making, experiencing maybe what's working, what's not working, and then adjusting from there. So today I want to talk about something that is not necessarily food related, but it is one of the biggest issues that gets in the way for so many women. And for a lot of my clients, it's something really important that we have to work through. And the topic for today and the challenge is to ditch the all or nothing mentality. So, in this challenge so far, we've talked a lot about the reason behind cravings. We've talked a lot about how it has to do with your blood sugar balance, with your gut health, with your hormones, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with willpower or self-discipline or white knuckling your way through following some strict meal plan or arbitrary yes no food list. We know that we really need to customize it to make it work for us and address gut health, address hormones, address blood sugar balance. Those are super important and really the key foundations to any plan that you're going to stick to, especially if you want to stick to it in the long term. And the reason I keep emphasizing this and the reason that I'm so big on explaining these things is because when you understand how your body works, then you can understand why things are happening in the first place, and you actually have control over how you're feeling. And it doesn't feel like you are confused or you don't know what to do, or you have to go back to dieting harder or following something stricter or just doing the same thing but trying to be more disciplined with it. You can actually adjust and know what's working for you. So that's really important. The more you know, or the right information can really, really help you to be your own best health advocate and your own nutritionist and be able to, again, make the adjustments and the changes for yourself that will help you to really, really feel good. But there is something that still gets in the way that has nothing to do with food, and it's really the mindset that we have around food. Foods being good and bad, saying we can and can't have certain things, and thinking that we have to be perfect all of the time and that we have to be perfect to see results. So really we get in our own way. And if you are a perfectionist like me and like a lot of my clients, because they are ambitious women, they're super smart, they're educated, they're also really curious, and they're looking for answers, and they want to do things the right way. And they feel like they have to do it this way or they can't do it at all. And that's just not true. We can find a happy medium and we can still make progress without being perfect and without self-sabotaging ourselves. So the goal is to just get out of our own way and stop trying to be perfect. And some ways that this can show up is whether it's a day or a week or an entire month, the all or nothing mentality can make you feel like you're on and off over and over and over again. So maybe you're good for a week and then you fall off. Maybe you're good for a day and then you fall off. Maybe you're good for an entire month and then the next month you feel like you fall off. But whatever the timeline is, you feel like you're never really able to stick to anything. You're like, this is why I can't stick to a diet, because I have no discipline or no willpower, whatever it is. If you're eating out on the weekend, you're like, I'm just going to have this. That's really not true. You're not falling off. You're not falling off the wagon. There really is no wagon. We need to take that away completely. But there is a way to get around this, and a way to focus on consistency. So we want to think about being consistent over trying to be perfect. That's what's going to get you bigger results, and better results, like the ones you actually want to see for the long term. And yes, it's important to know the right foods to eat for you. I think every woman should know what foods are truly nourishing, what foods will support their hormones and their gut health and their digestion, their blood sugar. And it's also important to know how to eat enough of the right foods consistently. So making sure you're getting enough calories, and making sure that you're not depriving yourself or you're not putting your body under unnecessary stress, and knowing how to truly nourish your body and give it what it needs, not follow a one-size-fits-all plan. You need to know what your body needs. But even with all those food, like if that looks perfect, your nutrition plan looks perfect, you still need to address your thoughts and your mindset around food. Because the truth is that there is never perfection with healthy eating. If you are trying to be perfect, you are setting yourself up for failure. Because there's this thing, and it's called real life, and it involves delicious food and treats and traveling and kids and eating out and socializing and all of these things that are the reasons that we want to feel healthy in the first place. So if you've ever said that, maybe you're perfect Monday to Thursday, and then on the weekends you get completely off track. This is what happens with the all or nothing mentality. And if you go into a situation, whether it's a Monday, whether it's a happy hour or a weekend away, if you go into that situation feeling like you have to stick to a diet, you're going to a happy hour and you're like, I'm just going to have one drink and I'm not going to have any French fries and I'm going to drink plenty of water. Or if you go to a party and you're like, I'm not going to have any cake at all. Or maybe the other end, you're like, I'm going to have all the cake because I can never have it during the week, which is not true. If you're feeling like you have to stick to a diet and you're picking at the carrot sticks and having the salad when you're eating out at an amazing restaurant that has a lot more to offer than just a salad, then whenever this happens, you're either going to be miserable, you're not going to be happy, you're not going to be enjoying yourself, and then you're eventually going to cave and you're going to have the foods that you said you couldn't have anyways. Or you're going to get through that situation, event, weekend, whatever it is, still feeling deprived, and eventually make up for it in some form or another the next week, the next day, that evening, whatever the situation is. And a lot of times too, we'll like spiral out of control. So if you can relate to maybe saying, I'm just going to have one cookie, and then you have another cookie and another cookie and another cookie, and then you just feel so guilty about it afterwards. Oftentimes the guilt is worse for us than the actual cookie and sugar itself. So that's one thing, is just taking away the guilt and enjoying the cookies. That will help tremendously. But also getting to a really good place where you can have one cookie and just move on. Like, it's not controlling your thoughts. You don't feel guilty about it. You don't feel like you have to have more. But if you did have more, it's also okay. It doesn't bother you. So that's a good place to be. Like, that is what getting out of the all or nothing mentality really looks like. And you're still making progress with your goals. You're still happy. You're still, eating really good food on a regular day-to-day basis. So that, I just wanted to kind of paint a picture of what the all or nothing mentality looks like. If you're stuck in that, know that you're not alone, and definitely let me know if you can relate to that. And then I want to share also with what you can do instead. And then I'll tell you the actual to do for today's challenge. But some things just to think about instead of trying to be strict or start over on Monday or start over the next day or think you have to be perfect. So the first thing is to stop depriving yourself. And I want you to be really honest and figure out what that deprivation looks like. Do not kid yourself with a romaine salad with chicken breast and a boring dressing, or with steamed broccoli and rice or cauliflower rice and salmon. If that's not truly satisfying to you and your body knows that and you know that, then you're not enjoying what you're eating and you're not going to be able to stick to it for the long term. So restriction can look different for everybody, but ask yourself, like, are you truly enjoying your foods, or do you maybe feel deprived after your meal or at the end of the day? And committing to not restricting and not dieting, it doesn't mean that you have to dive face first into a box of donuts or ice cream or whatever. And if you did do that, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I promise you won't do that all the time. Your body will actually crave real food and food that it needs and you enjoy. So just getting out of the restriction and the diet mentality, which includes eating a lot of those, diety foods and things that we think are healthier for us, like kale and rice cakes. And we don't have to be forcing ourselves to eat those foods. But also just telling yourself that you can't have something. That in itself is a deprivation mindset. Your body detects that. So know that no foods are off limits. You can have them at any time you want. You can have chocolate on a Tuesday or you can have it on a Saturday night. It doesn't matter. So that's one thing to think about, is getting really honest to figure out, like, do you feel deprived? Are you depriving yourself? The second thing is to get rid of the scarcity mindset. And this is basically the thought of foods being off limits to you at some point. So you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have the ice cream now because I can't have it later, or I just need to finish this now because I'll never be able to have it again. I can't have it at all this week because I'm starting over on Monday. You can, again, always have that ice cream. You can always have a piece of chocolate. You can always have a slice of cake. You can always have those chips. It doesn't, the only reason we think we can't is because we're telling ourselves we can't. We're making up these rules for ourselves. And just because we tell ourselves that we can have it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to choose to eat it. You can say, yeah, I can have that bagel this morning and I can also have it tomorrow. Maybe I'll have it tomorrow. You might end up not having it tomorrow either. So it's there if you want it, but you're not putting any restriction on it. The third thing is to stop justifying certain events or situations and saying that you deserve something because you were good. So eating certain foods or eating in a certain way doesn't make you as a person good or bad. And just because it's the weekend or just because you worked out doesn't mean that you deserve any type of food or that you earned your food or earned more calories. We know that also the calories in, calories out equation doesn't make sense. It doesn't consider hormones. It doesn't consider blood sugar. But the main point here being that if you do want a treat or you want something you maybe don't normally have on a daily basis, then just treat it that way. You can have it. You don't have to earn it. You just enjoy it and then you move on. And that's that. So that's the third tip. And then the fourth thing to consider is that if you're someone who's stressing about your weight, and you say you can't have certain foods because it is a matter of you feel like you'll gain weight if you have it, or you're going to have a salad so that you'll lose weight, right? Like we're like making this direct correlation between the food we eat and if we go up or down in our weight, which isn't true. But you don't gain weight or lose weight in one meal or even in one day or even in a couple days, honestly. Things that will influence your weight more in that shorter period of time are things like sleep, and stress and your hormones. So those are bigger things to consider. But single decisions that you're making, they don't make as much of a difference as like your overall patterns do. So if you are overeating every single night and your one cookie turns into 6 cookies every single night, and you're doing that all of the time, that is a pattern that we have to break. That is a habit that we need to work on. But just one day or one event or one weekend isn't going to completely change the progress that you've been making. And again, it's not going to cause you to gain or lose, 5 pounds, if weight is something that you're concerned about, and that's why you're scared to eat certain foods. So keep that in mind as well. The overall patterns are more important, and the habits that you're developing on a day-to-day basis are going to matter more than the one decision that you make with a meal or a weekend or something like that. So those are just some things to keep in mind. And what I want you to do for the challenge today is just simply recognize how you approach food and the language that you use around it. So getting rid of things like good and bad, and changing the words like I can't have pizza to I choose not to have, because it makes me feel bloated and tired. Or because I don't want to, because it makes me feel bad. Like, you don't even have to give the details, but you choose not to have a certain food because of something, rather than I can't have that because it's not in my plan or it's bad or whatever. And if something does happen and you feel like you slip up or you do something and you're like, that did not make me feel great, I don't want to do that again tomorrow, just look at it as feedback, look at it as practice, and then you can correct and you can adjust for the next time. So you're in that same or similar situation, you know what happened last time, you know how you felt, and then you can adjust accordingly for the next time. And getting rid of the guilt, the guilt is not going to help you problem solve. So skip the guilt and problem solve instead, and you're going to be a lot better off. So I know that's a lot to just kind of think over, and we all want to know what to eat and how to eat and when to eat, and exactly what's going to make us feel our best food-wise. But to really be healthy and feel our best, we have to address this mindset component. And this is where having food freedom comes into play, and something that is an ultimate goal for a lot of the women I work with. And hopefully throughout this challenge, you are physiologically changing in a way that reduces cravings and helps you to be able to burn fat more easily, helps you feel less anxious, less stressed, you're sleeping better, you have more energy. But then we still have to look at, if this is going to last and we're going to make good food choices consistently, we need to ditch the all or nothing mentality, and we need to ditch the self-sabotage. So I hope that the challenge for today is helpful for you, and I hope that you can start practicing this and just really pay attention to your language around food, how you're responding whenever you do feel like you are good versus bad. Pay attention to that and start to, again, problem solve instead of getting into that guilt cycle, and into that deprive, then binge, and be good and then bad and then start over Monday. Getting out of all of that cycle and just supporting your body and giving it what it needs on a consistent basis. That's what I want for everybody. So if you have any questions for today's challenge, just respond to the email from today, or you can post in the Facebook group, and I'm happy to answer any questions there. And that is all for now. Stay tuned for more follow-up emails and just information on how you can continue carrying out these habits, and what the next best steps will look like for you, because I will be sharing those very soon. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.